Hi, Nidal.
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
I am great. So Jacob Harkins here with Vintage U, and I'm here with Nidal, who is one of the most unique wine cellar builders that we work with, and we're going to get into that in a second. But he's with Unique Wine Cellar Designs. That's the official
Unique
name,
Wine
correct?
Cellars, correct.
Unique
Unique
Wine
Wine
Cellars.
Cellars.
They are based in Birmingham, Michigan, which is this
Um,
crazy cool.
Bloomfield Hills,
Oh,
Michigan, near Birmingham. I'm very near.
Birmingham.
Yeah,
I
that's it.
spent time in Birmingham or in
That's right.
Bloomfield Hills, or in both of them. In any event, this
Very
is like
close to Birmingham.
the craziest like little area outside
Mhm.
of Detroit that has like all sorts of amazing development. It's like a little mini Manhattan in the
Yeah,
middle of. If you don't live in Michigan, you would never know that stuff
they
is
call it Little Manhattan. That's what they call
Little
Birmingham.
Manhattan.
Mhm.
So his company, the reason I think he's one of the more unique wine cellar builders we work with, his company does a couple of things. One, they build amazing wine cellars throughout the greater Detroit and Michigan area.
Mhm.
And two, Nidal is also a sommelier. So he does he can do start to finish. Like he can build your beautiful wine cellar and then he can help you stock it, whether you're a commercial property or you're a homeowner. So he's got both ends of that, which I think is really cool. So thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us. So welcome to this Facebook Live show.
That's what I've been doing, man, with this time.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about. So one of the questions I have, you're the first kind of a professional wine cellar builder that I've brought on since we started doing these Facebook Live pieces. And we've got a really unique time right now with everyone kind of like holed up, trying to figure out what's up. And I'm curious, do you feel like what effect in the long term, if any, do you expect like everyone holding up and COVID, et cetera, to have on the wine cellar building industry?
Good question. We've been thinking about this for a while now, and I think here's what happened. Our company being twofold. Part is consulting, as you mentioned, which involves in setting up wine events, wine tasting events, wine lectures, consulting restaurants, wine list staff training, and also representing wineries as ambassadors. The other part is, like you mentioned, the wine cellars part. The part that involves social gathering, that's dead now because we can't do any of that.
Yeah, I
So
would imagine.
we're hoping that when this is eventually things gonna change, it will come back to a certain point, and it will fully come back after they probably figure out a vaccine for this. I'm sure this will become behind us just like the flu, and then we'll remember this like we did with the swine and all of other viruses. That's what we're hoping. So everything comes back to normal.
Got it.
The construction part, I think, because we came out, especially here in Michigan, there's a very strong economy, and the construction was really, really good. A lot of
Yeah.
new homes, a lot of new wine cellars. Before this hit, we were getting calls constantly. I had to pick and choose which projects I want to bid on because there was so much, and we had to prioritize. And I think when this is all over, we're gonna come back strong because people who have these projects, we have them in line. The thing I'm worried about is we're gonna be so busy and backed up, and everybody wants everything done in a short period of time.
So can I just tell you something? I love your enthusiasm. The fact that you hope and expect to be turning away business when this kind of wraps up gives me. I love hearing someone on the ground doing this have that level of confidence because that's what we all need. We all want to know that this thing is going to get better. And if your sphere is in 6 months, you're going to have too much business to deal with. That is a great problem to have,
But because
considering.
right now we're designing, working, and coding on projects that they want, it's going to happen. It's supposed,
Yeah,
some of them actually, because we were actually working on 4 wine cellars at one time where they shut down the projects and everybody had to go home. So when this is all over, in addition to the projects we have to start, we have to
yeah,
finish those. So
yeah,
everything's going to be piled up. The only thing, we would love it to be spaced out, but all of that work has to be done now in a short period of
absolutely.
time. And on top of that, everybody's going to be busy. All
Hmm.
the carpenters, which is very difficult to find carpenters, refrigeration people. So all of that labor, it's going to be competition to get that and seek that labor to get your job done.
Got it.
You
So,
know, so I'm
so
very optimistic on this.
I love that, and we're healthy and we're busy, so those are good blessings to have. Now let's talk about in general. You and I chatted a little bit before we got on here, just to to go over some topics. And one of the questions I wanted to ask of you, and you gave me a little insight, is, what in your mind is, we know we're on a little bit of a pause, but that's not going to change probably the design aspects and aesthetics of like what is trending. What is the biggest trend you're seeing in wine cellars right now? And then I think we've got some visuals we can back some up.
It's mostly they're looking for that modern, minimal look. Glass is very big. They want that glass view, just like what you see in restaurant.
Yeah.
So almost, let's say 7 out of 10 projects now, people who don't want a traditional wine cellar, they want that look. And so smaller units, very narrow, in a narrow space. And now, because those can be fitted in condos, which is, in Birmingham, all of these are $1 million+ condos. So you cannot put a huge wine. They want something displayed well everybody can see. So you no longer have a basement or a lower level. You're right in the main level with this wine cellar. They want it to be in your face, everybody can see it.
So I'm going to hide myself. I'm going to bring up a visual, because this also is not without its challenges for designing. And you shared with me.
And it's not that easy. There's a lot of challenges in this, and that's why we always advise, designers, builders, architects, please consult. Retain us as a consultant first, because we can save you a lot of money. We can put things into perspective. Cost-wise, because oftentimes people don't realize what these things cost and why it's challenging. For example, what you see in here, this is a wall that's going to separate a kitchen from a dining room. And if you see, it's a glass wall. Everything is a glass except one little tiny wall that you're going to see all the way in the back, if you see in that. So where are you going to, they want this temperature control. So you can see how fitting equipment in here and finding the right equipment is very challenging. So what we decided to do is, because we partnered with Wine Guardian, who I'm a dealer for in Michigan now, and they have these unique equipments that they're self-contained, but they can be ducted about 25 feet away. So in this particular project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a unit just below this particular room. There is a unit below, which is, I think it's a lower level that has a mechanical room. I'm going to duct it up, bring a duct work, and I made him increase the depth of this about 18 inches because I need that big of a vent. That the supply vent will be right on top, and I think there's another picture, I don't know if you have it, you can put it up in there, of that I sent you, exactly, and you see that those vents. So the supply vent will be on top, return vent will be in the bottom. This is the tricky thing. Normally, you would need a very small unit to cool this if this is just regular wall and properly insulated. Because this is all glass, we're going to discuss the glass, specification a little bit. But because all glass only gives you R1 value, you would need 3 times a minimum as big of a unit for this. So you can imagine the unit is very big. Now the challenge is that big of a unit, you're going to blow the air in, and that might cause condensation in the glass. And that's why I put this supply all the way up and all the way to the back. And then we're going to direct all the air along that long way of that wine cellar. So that way it's not hitting the glass indirectly to the sides, rather that the air is going, circulating and going down and picked up on the bottom as a return. So now the other challenge is that glass needs to be sealed all the way around. So we suggested to them that there is rubber seals that you can put, so that way when the doors open, they're like French doors, the closes, rubber seals that meet up at that closure, so that way it seals that, so there's no gaps. So what happened here, when you create a temperature control wine room like that, you're creating a low pressure room. What does that mean? It means that the low pressure room, all of the moisture from the surrounding area, from the kitchen, especially in that area, it's going to be sucked into that room. Moisture is good for the wine, the wine, but you don't want it to go over 80% because that creates mold. So you need to be able to control it and keep it under, not under 50 in the winter, because in the winter it's going to drop to below 50. So you need to keep it above 50, but under 80. So that's a big challenge for that unit. That needs to be having adjustments twice a year, maintenance on that. You adjust it for winter and adjust it for summer in order to make it work properly.
So now, if I could, Nidal, if I could interrupt. So what are the things that we talk about a lot? Because we get asked this question a lot about the glass, and I'm glad you brought up a couple points there. Number one, because one of the rules of thumb that we give people as a general, like when you're dealing with glass, you're going to at least double if not more, the capacity of the cooling needed for that space,
Correct.
right? So that's
This case
really,
was triple actually, because
yeah,
that's all glass and it's on the main
yeah.
level.
And the other thing that so as you got into the details there, if you're watching this and you are not a wine cellar building expert, I think this is also a good lesson in why you should probably hire a wine cellar building expert. Because what Nidal just walked through, we have conversations with folks like you, like with our wine cellar builders in Florida and Texas, et cetera. And the amount of experience required to figure out those solutions to that. You look at that glass cube, it shouldn't be easy, it shouldn't be a cooled wine cellar unless you plan accordingly and do the right things early on in the process. So the fact that we have the drawings and you're doing that right now before construction is why that would be a success, as opposed to it being a last afterthought, right?
Right. Here's another challenge. The glass, we recommend, if it's a single pane glass, it needs to be a minimum at least 3/8 of an inch in order not to cause condensation, and it needs to be low E. Now, try to find a low E 3/8 of an inch. It's a special order, very expensive to do. They're not going to be able to find much in a low E. So the other option he said we can do a 1/4 of an inch low E. But I said, no, keep it a 3/8 of an inch, and then they can apply a coating on the outside that makes it a low E, similar to deflect the heat off of the unit.
Yeah.
The other option is you can turn this into a dual pane thermal insulated glass, just like your outside windows. Well, you have 2 layers of glass, an 1/8 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, and a 1/4 of an inch gap that's filled with argon gas. One panel can be low E, which is the inside panel. But a lot of people they want that minimal look, that single pane glass. Because when you have dual pane, you're going to have frames around, and they don't want these frames. So they want that look. The other challenge we find with this, when they originally sent me the original space for this cube, and we worked with Marcy and your design team on this, the racks, because of the depth of this, was hitting the glass. So at the end, I showed her that, for the depth you arranged for this to make it a 14-inch, those racks cannot be installed. They're going to be basically butted right into the glass. How are you going to get a bottle on each side of that?
Yeah, you got to consider all that stuff.
I said, I need a 3-inch here, a 3-inch here. She goes, the maximum I have. So I had to adjust that soffit on top, because they want everything to fit under the soffit on that unit on top. So they made that soffit now it's going to be 17.5 inches, where I need this total 17 inches to fit vintage view racks, where you have a 3 inches in the back, 3 inches on the front clearance away from the glass. So I had made adjusted that. See, they could have built that room and bought the racks and bought a unit. None of it would have worked. And walked in there, and that whole project is there. That glass alone is going to be almost $10,000 to build, just for the glass.
I can imagine. So let me now the next important thing. So in your office right now, you have a wine with a story. So this is why I love talking to you, because I'm a wine geek myself. So we can geek out over the glass and the cooling and all that stuff, but I also love what's in the glass. Now, you are 2 hours ahead of me, so it's appropriate for you to be drinking right now. Not so appropriate for
it's a little bit of somewhere.
It is. So what is show me the wine that you have open. And
I represent this wine in Michigan. So this is Blackbird Vineyard. Let me tell you a little bit about Blackbird Vineyard. Blackbird Vineyard, the winemaker is Aaron Potts. Aaron Potts went to School of Burgundy of Wine, then graduated from the University of California at Davis. Right after he graduated from Davis, was hired at Newton Vineyard to be the winemaker. But listen to this. This is what makes him a really cool winemaker and well known for this. He was hired after that in France to be the winemaker at Trois Plat Mondol. It's a premier Grand Cru Class C in Saint-Emilion. He was the only American to be a winemaker at a French winery, at a Grand Cru, let alone in there. So,
and just if I can interrupt, just for anyone out there listening who's kind of a layman's term, Grand Cru Burgundy is essentially code words for the best Pinot Noir in the world.
Correct, but this is a Grand Cru Class C from Saint-Emilion and Bordeaux. Yeah. So which is the right bank of Bordeaux. And
you're in Bordeaux. So so Bordeaux and Bordeaux are your powerhouse Cabernets and Merlots. And when you're working on that level, and as you can imagine from the world of the French who love their stuff, they don't let Americans in the kitchen. They don't love Americans in the winery. And so that, to me, without knowing how hard it is, I can assume it is not easy for that person to be an American winemaker a
in France,
pristine.
I knew how the French were very particular, their winemakers. So it's kind of unique. And he was the only known to be the only American winemaker to be the winemaker, principal winemaker at such a Grand Cru, a classy winery in Saint-Emilion. Saint-Emilion is known to plant Merlot and Cabernet Franc. They're known. This is the right bank. The right bank is known for Merlot. The left bank of Bordeaux is mainly Cabernet.
Right.
So Blackbird is what interesting. Are you into music in there? So look, you see, this is Blackbird. You see what you see here? See red birds. So this wine is mainly Merlot. It's the most popular Merlot that they make. It represents the style of the vineyard. It's a wine that you can actually present either at a pizza night, from the novice to the most collectible. They would love this wine. It's mostly Merlot. It's called Arise. Now, this is a musical note, but because he doesn't want to get sued, he put birds on a wire, but it's actually the music he wrote for the Beatles song. If you remember the Beatles song, Arise.
Yes, I've played that for my son many times in the last couple of weeks.
And there is, it says Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to arise, and that's the name of the wine.
I love it. I love it. And it's also
I think it's very with this moments, we're all going through trying times in there. We can't wait for that moment till we actually go out and rise again with this economy and bring our country back and bring our businesses back, just like when we left them.
And one other really interesting note about the style of wine and the right bank versus left bank Bordeaux debate and all that stuff. If you are streaming a bunch of stuff at home right now, watching movies, etc., and you happen upon the classic of movie Sideways, where they've got that classic scene of I'm not drinking any effing Merlot.
I know.
And then he winds up, I believe, from I forget
he went into a burger joint and bought a bottle of 1961 Cheval Blanc from Saint-Emilion, from that same area.
Yes,
and that was 100-point wine, the most expensive wine at the time, and the most highly, thought after bottle of wine. And he poured it in a plastic cup.
And it was a Merlot. And that's the kicker of it after all that.
Speaking of which, speaking of the Saint-Emilion, the Cheval Blanc. So this wine, they make wine called Paramore. And this is an H glass. You see the blackbirds in there. This is actually similar to Cheval Blanc because it's mostly Cabernet Franc. And, in California, if you don't, it's either you make a good Cabernet Franc or you don't.
Yeah.
The most Cabernet Francs is almost like green, very vegetal in there. When you do, this is a great bottle of wine. I've done it at many tastings, so people love it. So this was sent to me by the vineyard. We did a tasting when the owner was here. We even were on TV also. We did a TV show before our event. So we did a lot of tastings at country clubs in November and also Plum Market. So I'll give Plum Market a great credit. Madeline Trifon is a master sommelier that works for Plum Market.
So and Plum Market, if I can remember, I believe has vintage wine ranking.
Exactly, vintage view. We went in there, remember?
Yep.
Yes. So they did a tasting at their Plum Market wine bar, and we did really well with Michael Blansky from owner of Blackbird Vineyard, and we did very well. So I have this. They release this half bottle for the hotel industry of Arise. Normally, this is this is the first year they ever released it. And it's a twist off, and they use it at the airlines too. So because of twist off, you didn't have it. So it's a great way, and this is perfect for me because I only want to drink a couple glasses of wine. I have to open the whole bottle, so it's perfect for me to open this and have a couple glasses of wine.
So I've been making the joke at our every Monday morning we do a company get together on Zoom, and I have in terms of alcohol consumption, I've been rating my alcohol consumption by the stress level my children in quarantine are causing me. I am up to a bottle a night per child. And I added, so I don't need a twist off half bottle. I can drink anything big right now because quarantine is driving me crazy. So I'm going to wrap this up. A couple of, if I've learned anything, and if you've learned anything from this, is if you live in Michigan and want a wine cellar, call Nidal because he's going to walk you through the entire thing. If you want a unique Bordeaux style wine with a cool story that's going to give you some inspiration, try Blackbird Vineyards. I learned that as well.
Yeah, they tell them go to Plum Market. They have plenty of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you are not in Michigan and want a wine cellar, I think that the idea is there's so many complexities that go into these things with glass and cooling. Work with an expert, because they're going to help you make, every wine cellar builder I've ever spoken with, they've already made their mistakes 10, 15 years ago on other projects. They're not going to make them again, right? If you do it from scratch, you're going to make the mistakes that they had to learn painstakingly through to figure this out.
We tell people, think about it. It's an investment. Even if you want to hire us to consult, just to consult, you're really saving a lot of money, because I showed you as this example in there that could have went wrong in many different ways. And then
absolutely,
we are working with a major design firm in Birmingham on this project too. And we'll make them look good, because they send us as a consultant. They work with them on a project and design stuff with them, and they're gonna make your customer happy. Everything is gonna go well, because that's a very challenging project. It's not as easy as it looks to be able to put this together.
I don't think it looked very easy. So I don't think there's anything easy looking about that. So we'll wrap this up. Thank you again, Nidal, so much. It's great to see you. I can't wait. The last time I saw you, we came dangerously close to opening a bottle of Harlan. I say dangerously close. I was right next to
remember, yeah.
I can't wait for the next time that we're in the same city and we can actually drink a nice bottle of wine together.
I can't wait to come and visit you guys. Stay safe and healthy. I want to see that new wine cellar.
Our design center, absolutely.
I'd love to come out and see you guys. Hopefully this thing's behind us soon and we can travel again and be in close proximity, drinking, sharing a bottle of wine together.
Yes, because you need to be within 6 feet if you're going to hand over a bottle of wine.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, stay well,
my friend.
And we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Nidal.
Thank you. All right.